Welcome to the JNMA podcast. I am your host, Lishasha, and today we have a very special guest, Dr. Mohan Raj Sharma. Dr. Mohan is a renowned neurosurgeon and a professor at Teaching Hospital. He also served as the director of research at Institute of Medicine and is the head of Department of Neurosurgery. Recently, he conducted an insightful study titled Status of Research Funding in Nepal, a scoping review. And today we are thrilled to discuss this with him. Welcome, Dr. Sharma. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Lishasha.
So let's dive right into today's topic. To start off with, could you explain to our listeners what a scoping review is and what advantages it offers in the context of research?
Okay. A scoping review is a type of review. There are many types of review. For example, narrative review, rapid review, systematic review. And another emerging type of review is the scoping review. It basically does the mapping of the literature on emerging or less studied topic. And it helps glean the information so that an accurate account on that topic can be obtained for the general reader and especially for the future researchers. For example, the topic on which we did the scoping review was the status of research funding in Nepal. It was extremely difficult to find the information in one article about what are the different options or different opportunities a potential researcher can get. So you just reading that scoping review, now somebody who wants to do a funded project, they can immediately read that article and get the information on this topic, on the topic of research funding. This is the advantage of scoping review.
It's interesting to know how scoping review can identify gaps in research. So conducting such review must come with its set of challenges. What were some of the challenges that you encountered during the execution of this scoping review?
Number one is the gathering of all the like-minded individuals who have some enthusiasm plus some knowledge regarding the scoping review. That is number one. To write one article, an original article on research, even one person can write an article. But for the scoping review, you need a minimum of 5 or 6 people who are interested in carrying out this research. This is number one, because every individual is assigned some kind of work to get the data collected. That's one. And second part is for us in the low and middle income countries, getting a good librarian is a difficult task. So one of us work as a librarian so that we can get all the information. That's number one. Second is getting the information from the gray literature. Remember, the difference between systematic review and scoping review is, in scoping review, you resort to gray literature because not much is written on peer-reviewed literature. So getting the information from gray literature is a difficult task. Sometimes you have to go to the office, of the sometime University Grant Commission or NAST, or for depending upon on which topic you are doing a scoping review. For example, if you are doing a scoping review on climate change, then you may have to go to different ministry to get the info. That is another difficulty. And third is compiling the data and coding and charting also is a little difficult, but it can be done.
Yeah. So moving forward, let's dive into your study content that aim to know the status of research funding in Nepal using scoping review. So research funding is crucial for the development of institution. So in your opinion, how does adequate research funding contribute to institutional growth and development?
Great question, Lishasha, again. Yes, many institutions may not be aware of this fact. Many think that you go just getting the, your resident or student out of the program, or if it is a hospital-based institute, seeing many patients, maybe they might see this as the only way of, assessing the quality of the institute, which is not true. Building a research capacity incentivizes the researchers, both monetary wise and intellectual wise. This is extremely important. If you have a well
Mhm.
motivated workforce working in your institution, that is great. Another is it increases the visibility of those institutions where great research is carried out, both
Mhm.
nationally and internationally. That's why it's extremely important that research funding is occupied by all institutions.
Mhm. So, despite its importance, securing research funding can be quite challenging. So, in your opinion, what are some of the barriers that researchers in Nepal face when pursuing research funding?
Another great question, and actually this is the basis of our study.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Number one is the accurate information regarding the funders is the most important one. Many researchers have great enthusiasm to do the research, but they have no idea where to get the no meaning. I mean, not adequate idea where you can potentially get the fund from. That is one, and hopefully our article offers a solution to this barrier. This is number one. Number two barrier, in my opinion, is the inaccessibility of the resources in the policy and funding mechanism. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
all this in the policy making post, most of the posts are politically appointed post, or in some areas there are people who have strong research background and they are in the post, but in my observation, many posts are occupied by the people who do not have great, research background.
Mm-hmm.
That is another barrier. So when I have done a lot of research and I reach to that post, and I feel the pain of not getting fund and not able to execute the research. But if
Mm-hmm.
somebody has not done that great research, then that person, even if the person is honest, may not have a great idea. That is another. And we should
Mm-hmm.
strive to get the researchers in the policy level. That's another.
Mm-hmm.
Third, in my opinion, is inadequate research knowledge and grant writing skill on the part of the researchers. They have the enthusiasm, okay, but they need to know how to write good grant, so that you can apply to a competitive funding, organization, like, big international organizations which give money. You have to compete with other international, researchers also. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
have a really strong research base plus
Mm-hmm.
grant writing. That's another. And the last, in my opinion, is this is true also. It's not my opinion. It has been corroborated by several other studies also, that some funders in high income countries feel that research and researchers in low income countries are not of standard, which is not correct though, but they feel that way. And they sometimes feel biased that, okay, if we give fund to low income this place, it may not be well utilized and that they may not come up with good result. That's another
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very insightful. So, moving forward, another important question that must be addressed is that while research for promotion is a strong incentive, it can also lead to issues such as ghost authorship, gifted authorship, and substandard quality papers. What are your thoughts on this matter, Dr. Mohan?
Excellent question. I mean, this is one of a few areas where I am advocating against, actually,
Mm-hmm.
that writing paper only for promotion is what a, so it should be really in the bottom of your list of why you should write paper. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it happens, though there has been a lot of improvement on this. And one solution I feel to
Mm-hmm.
address this is, one is we should be, widely advocating against this, and the people who do this should be blacklisted. That's number one. Number two, last time when we were in the Health Research Council conference, I made a point that we should have some kind of governance mechanism, that those who do scientific misconduct,
Mm-hmm.
which involves all these you just mentioned, ghost authorship, gifted or gift authorship, and all this,
Mm-hmm.
they should have a mechanism of punishing or having some degree of red flagging them. That's one. Another
Mm-hmm.
would be Research, you should evaluate the research output based, you should evaluate somebody's research ability
Mm-hmm.
by the research output. Not that, if you get promoted at the end of 5 years, then you, in the last year, you publish 5 paper. Not right. Every year there should be 1 or 2 paper, and you can evaluate that way also, so that you see the consistency of the research output by that individual. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the few
Mm-hmm.
studies have been done, like, in Google Scholar. If you see up to 2019, the person had 0 paper,
Mm.
and in
Yeah.
2021, the person has 100 paper. How is it possible?
Yeah, that's
That's-
correct.
and
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes when you
Mm.
are in the head of the institutions, then you
Mm-hmm.
get this gift authorship, which you should resist also.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. So addressing this ethical concern seems to be vital. So,
Yes.
speaking of incentive, grants are available to enhance research activities. Yet some institutions have a policy of no additional pay for researcher, even if it is allocated in the budget, arguing that staff are already remunerated by the institution. What is your perspective on this policy, Dr. Mohan?
Yeah, I have a different feeling on this, and I have been advocating about this for last 5 6 years. That this policy is not good. This
Mm-hmm.
motivates the researchers. It
Mm-hmm.
is something. It is the extra work they are doing, so extra pay is justified. But you can make a policy that it should not exceed certainly limit or this. In our institute, we have a policy that you can get extra money, but it should not exceed certain amount that is there. And especially for the clinicians, you have to have some way of incentivizing them. Otherwise, there is a risk that they resort to clinical practice only. And unless you motivate the clinician to do research,
Mm-hmm.
overall clinical service may not improve that much. So I am against this point that you should not give money to the researcher by doing extra research. No, not true. You have to give them
Mm-hmm.
commensurate with their level of involvement in that project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so additional incentives are important to motivate the
Very
researchers.
very
Mm.
much.
Mm. So moving forward, training is essential for capacity building, but administrative and human resources factors also play significant roles. Is there any provision for advocating and training in these areas within Nepal's research community?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we practice based on our own data, we may not be practicing real evidence-based medicine. And I'm a true believer of this. So we have to practice based on our own research output. So the only way you can do this is by training by training your own faculty, residents, students, and increasing the research capacity of your own institute. And
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, every institute must have a provision for this. And University Grant Commission has been of great help
Mm-hmm.
regarding this. They give you fund for increasing your research capacity every year,
Mm-hmm.
and many other funders of the Nepal Health Research Council also doing, and Nepal Medical Association Journal also doing a lot of this training. So you have to increase the capacity. Unless you increase the capacity, the research output will be again scanty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So comprehensive training seems to be a key component of strengthening research, right?
Yes, yes.
So as we approach to the end of our session, I would like to ask the last question.
Mhm.
What do you envision as the future of clinical research in Nepal?
A great question again.
Mm,
And I'm a positive thinker, and I believe the research future of clinical research is excellent in Nepal. Because there
mhm,
are reasons for why I'm saying this. The research culture is slowly developing in Nepal, especially for last 15 years. More people are interested in research,
mm,
uh, more and more high-end research are being performed and published. If you look at the papers, research output from Nepal, last 4 years, more than 150 RCTs have been published based on PubMed, which is a great thing,
Mhm.
and there has been an increasing awareness among clinicians of the fact that without research, it is difficult to maintain the standard internationally. This is also a great thing. I think having awareness is also great, and also for the universities to avoid a fall in the ranking. Certain number of research by faculty and student is a must. So these are the reasons, and every university want to maintain the ranking also. So that these are the reasons. I think next 10 year our research output will be much better than this also. So
Mhm.
I'm very
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mohan, for sharing your insights and experience with us today. It's been a fascinating discussion, and I'm sure our listeners have gained a valuable knowledge.
Yeah, in the end, I like to thank my research partners, co-authors of this scoping review, Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Sugat Tuladar, Dr. Abhishek Abhitham Adhikari, Dr. Akriti Kharga, Ms.
Mm-hmm.
Sujana, and Ms. Namita Gimire for putting up their work and coming out with such a beautiful article, which was gladly and he was accepted by this very prestigious Nepal Medical Journal of Nepal Medical Association. We are
Mm-hmm.
grateful to the editorial team also for liking our
Uh,
work. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Dr. Mohan and team. And also thank you to our listeners for tuning into this episode of JNMA podcast. Stay tuned for more enlightening conversation with leading expert in the field. Thank you. Bye bye.